To be operative for that, such principles must first of all be necessary for cure of cancer or winning in chess or football or whatever. They must be enough, otherwise there's something you have forgotten. The necessary part, by the way, is to not confuse these principles by various kinds of values. There is so much different beliefs and values. I like that more than that, and you like that more than this, and so forth. That's all fine. But we cannot allow that to enter basic, robust principles for winning. Next, they must be general, otherwise we can't cooperate. If only physicists would understand such principles, how can we then cooperate with chemists or economists? Furthermore, they must be concrete. They must tell you how to cure cancer or win in chess or football or become sustainable in Turkey and Finland and Sweden. If they overlap, they are not comprehensible anymore. You lose, it becomes confusing, you cannot develop indicators, so they must not overlap. So those quality criteria was what the natural step asked scientists around the world to cooperate around, to identify such principles for cooperation across sectors and disciplines to happen. So, what are the principles for sustainable development? And we asked that question in the following way, and we were doing around half or almost a year of endless debates, because the more people you are in a room, the more stupid you get. We're not here in Finland, but we have this problem in Sweden. Because we don't have the principles by which we want to be clever together. And this time we needed to find them together. So we needed to start in big assemblies, and the smarter the people are, the more confusing the debate gets, until eventually people get out of the room and say, now I'm even more confused than before, but at a higher level. Eventually we arrived at the following first mechanism. This world is destroyed systematically by more and more matter from the Earth's crust that were mined originally. Heavy metals, fossil CO2, phosphates in lakes, stuff that we bring up from the mountain rock beneath us, and allow it to increase systematically to higher and higher and higher and higher concentrations. That's part of the fun. And we agreed on that. That is inherently unsustainable. And not only the stuff we talk about, silver is increasing like that, and that will soon be a mass media. Zinc is increasing like that, that will also soon be a mass media. It just hasn't hit the fan yet, as it were. But it will. So it's inherently unsustainable. We all agree, toxicologists, everyone. Second principle. We are systematically allowing also combinations of elements that were not dig up necessarily, but put together such, and then used such, that they also increase in concentration. We do that principle flow as well, in the way our societies work. We never say that, but that's the truth. So, instead we say dioxins, anti-inflammables, PCB, DDT, dieldrins, pesticides, keep on adding, sending out the experts, each of them dealing with one detail at a time. But society as such is running a systematic flow against one sustainability principle. We allow chemicals to increase as well. The third principle by which we destroy the planet is that we systematically remove natural systems as well, with bulldozers, chainsaws, far too large fish boats, and so forth. We are gradually removing those areas where biodiversity sustains the world, removing it also physically. So, in an ecologically sustainable world, mined materials do not systematically increase in concentration. Neither do chemicals. Neither do we systematically put more and more asphalt on fertile land, or over-harvest and allow erosion to do the rest. What is that? How does Turkey look like in a world like that? That is the question we should ask together around water and energy and traffic and so forth, and come up with the solutions together, helping each other to get there. There's one fourth element in this. We are systematically eroding trust at the global level by flawed decisions at the level of presidents, governments, and so forth. So people lose trust. They see how the world is destroyed more and more, and what do they see? talk class. People enter big rooms, talk, and then leave the room more confused than before. So it was possible to take all those problems, aggregating them into 4 mechanisms of destruction, and then put a knot in each of those. So when Electrolux is sustainable, and Turku is sustainable, and Toyota is sustainable, they do not contribute to that anything that was originally mined is increasing in concentration. Nothing, no chemicals are increasing. They don't contribute to that problem. They do not contribute to removing more and more areas physically, and they do not contribute to loss of trust. They earn more and more trust by insightful, smart strategies. So it seemed possible to define sustainability at a level that all scientists agree, and then we started to test, does this make sense for business executives? And it did. So we put it in a process. Now I am talking about how. First it was why. You can run first class on Titanic, you don't have to wait for the others. Then what? Sustainability can be defined in a way which is scientifically robust. And the third, how. You need a process, guideline, and understand this together in this board, or through this value chain, or in this region, or across those sectors who are supposed to cooperate. Understand it together, that's A. Or if you play chess or a family game, read from the box so that people understand before they are supposed to play. B, assess today from a point of winning. Where are our challenges, but also our strengths here in Turku today, with reference to those principles of sustainability. C, where are the possibilities for the future? Don't think about money now. Forget it. This is an intellectual brainstorming game amongst specialist experts. What is feasible to comply with those principles for the future here in Turku or in Toyota? And that creates a long, long list of possibilities. D means to put all those potential solutions together such that it becomes a smart chess game, to move from one stepping stone to the other. So the feasibility of the things you want to prioritize in D. D means the prioritization of the game to create a business plan or an organizational plan or an action plan. Everything you want to do early should move you towards sustainability. It should be possible to work from that platform to something else, so that it is not a dead end, something that will inherently bring you to something which is today a little bit better, but that has no chance to go to sustainability. And if you only knew how many decisions are made today in businesses and in cities to reduce CO2 emissions a bit in a way that cannot even theoretically comply with those principles later on. That is a perfect way of mobilizing huge amounts of money and then go bankrupt later on, because it doesn't have any future. If you only knew how many confused decisions are made in big fancy cities, in big businesses today, you would be as scared as I am. And then the next question is even more important. Everything you want to do relatively early should be economic enough to bring you income. Otherwise you will lose money on the way. Who would thank anyone doing brilliant moves that brings them to bankruptcy? So the trick is, how do I make investments that will bring income and serve as platforms to forthcoming moves? Just like a chess player, want to be economic with the players, but you can also sacrifice one player every now and then for the bigger cause. That's called trade-offs, by the way. And there's only one way of managing trade-offs, that is to know the end game, to define it. Otherwise you cannot even tempt being a smart chess player or sustainable developer. And then we have tested this, first in business. It's growing faster in cities now, but we have tested it in business and demonstrated that it works each time. Regardless if it's a bank, or if they are a producer or retail, doesn't matter. Så det fungerar inom vilket typ av bolag som helst. And we have demonstrated that these guys are truly running first class on Titanic. And we have published this together with the previous CEO of Electrolux, current CEO of Volvo. He recently recently declared in a public speech in Sweden that they have earned billions at Electrolux from understanding this better than competitors. This is a more typical American saying. This guy founded Interface, which is the largest company in the world producing floor tiles and so forth. And he said that we have not earned so much before as we did when we learned this. Not at the cost of social systems or ecosystems, but at the cost of our competitors who still don't get it. And we published with him as well. Now, if the mining company can do this, determining their challenges on the D list, their solutions on the C list, and model smart early steps, and the construction company can do it, and the factory and the transporter can do it, anyone can do it, they can compare notes. And now they can work across value chains to deliver services together that not one individual company could deliver. And this is the clinical conference throughout value chains. And we've already tested this, and it works. The answer is yes, it works throughout value chains. And this is a science field in itself. It's called PSS, Product Service Systems. How can a value chain be much more competitive together by delivering together something which is smarter than the competitors each one can deliver? And needless to say, if any company can do it like that, what do you see in that picture? That's also a region or a city. So this grows faster at the level of cities than in business today. Well over 200 municipalities and cities around the world do this today. Only in Sweden we have 80 doing it, or 79 right now. And it began in small municipalities and cities. Now we count Portland, Madison, and recently Dublin. They created a beautiful visionary plan with those principles as the boundary conditions or the framing conditions, and began developing Dublin systematically in that direction. I would love for this to happen in the first country in the world. And I had a talk yesterday with Professor Koronen, and we said maybe Finland would be the ultimate country in the whole world to do it, by a number of reasons, including CISU. This notion comes from Ken Melamed, the mayor of Whistler. He was the host of the Winter Olympics. They actually won the bid for the Winter Olympics by applying this framework and demonstrate that they wanted to do this in Whistler. They won the United Nations Prize for the most proactive community in the whole world. The whole Olympic village was created by use of these principles, was completely run by renewable energy. They have developing indicators, they have merged forces across business, they are doing it in a very elegant way. You can move to their website and homepage and see how they are doing it. So, we have a number of actors across the globe approaching sustainability from different directions, and the archipelago around this island is full of rocks. Full of very dangerous rocks underwater. And those rocks look different depending on the angle from which you are approaching sustainability. But you have one and the same definition of it, no matter the scale you are operating in, no matter what kind of business you are running. And this means that you can help each other approach sustainability across borders of disciplines and sectors. And that did not exist before. It took 21 years to develop it. Now, as a final point, how does this framework differ from the thousands of different tools for sustainable development out there? In fact, there are so many tools for sustainable development that they themselves have begun to be perceived as confusing. So I was invited by UNEP, United Nations Department for Sustainable Development in Paris in the year 2000, together with pioneers of tools, Bakken for footprinting, Schmidt-Breed for Factor 10, British Standard Institute for ISO 14001, and so forth. And since we have the unifying framework for sustainable development, I was appointed the chairman to lead a work by which we were going to explore what does your tool do for sustainable development, and what does it not do, and what does your tool do for sustainable development, and describe that jointly.